Back in 7th and 8th grade, I was getting picked on a lot. I just moved to where I currently live. Now, to cope, I binge ate Lucky Charms every day. Now, it felt like a normal thing to do because the usual school system for our family was go to school, come back from school, have a snack to get energized, and then go do your homework. I didn't really see it as a problem. Eating 2 to 3 bowls of high sugar Lucky Charms wasn't a problem to me at the time, apparently. So I just kept doing it every day. Now, to my family, it was a huge problem, and they started worrying about my health. So eventually, at some point, I had to quit my coping mechanism, which is what they call a buffer in psychology. So today, we're breaking down why quitting habits isn't about willpower, or a habit might not even be an addiction like you think it is, and it's about how your brain actually builds these patterns and what you can do to break them. So, why you can't quit bad habits. It's not an addiction, it's a habit, and I'm actually going to elaborate on this in the next slide. So, an addiction versus a habit. What is the difference? An addiction stops you from living a normal life. Now, normal is super subjective. Since the screens and just all this bullshit that we have around us, it's super subjective. Now, you might think normal means drinking a soda every day. That's unhealthy to me, but you suit you. Now, normal to me is like being as much and as incorporated as you can towards a caveman life. Like, I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not going to go sleep in a cave, but that to me is how I believe humans should be living. An example of an addiction would be skipping school, skipping a family event, and skipping, per se, a funeral just to go party. Now, that would be a party addiction. You can change this up with drugs, pornography, and binge eating. A habit is something incorporated into your life through many years. Now, do you think about brushing your teeth, or do you just wake up and do it? You just wake up and do it. It's a habit that you just naturally have or curated over time. A habit could be something you do in your free time as well. I do MMA in my free time. It's not something that I exactly want to go to every single day. Getting punched in the face isn't fun, but we deal with it. If you are trying to quit a habit, chances are you know about this concept of willpower. So, I want to ask you, how far does willpower actually go before burnout hits? You can compare willpower to this bullet in mid-air. It's first fast, strong, and lethal, but then you'll see it crash into the ground. Now, when it crashes into the ground, that's why you fall back into this habit. So, picture this. Everyone is on a shooting range. Now, this shooting range is called life. There are targets either miles or super, super close to you, right? Everyone is standing at different locations. Everyone is shooting different targets. Now, most people, they shoot, they get lucky. Point blank success, no problem. Other people, they shoot and they miss completely. And sometimes they blame it on the gun. Sometimes they just leave the shooting range and don't adjust, whatever they want to do. Look, you've been trying to shoot a target for however long now, and you just keep missing. So I'm going to teach you how you can actually use the gun properly. Now, if you don't know what that means, the target is your goal. The bullet is your willpower. And the gun is what I call EMSUA. Environment, mindset, strategy, understanding, behavioral conditioning, and your ability to disrupt behavioral conditioning. Pavlov's dog experiment. Now, before conditioning, you can tell that the dogs will salivate at food. It's shown where my mouse is just hovering over. So Pavlov started ringing the bell and then giving them food. So this way, the dogs started to attribute bells with food. So eventually, whenever you rang the bell, the dogs would start salivating because they thought food was coming. Now, eventually, Pavlov stopped this experiment because people love saying animal abuse. I'm just kidding. But even when he rang the bell, the dogs would still salivate, thinking they would get food. And eventually, he just kept ringing the bell, and the dogs started salivating. It's not included in this image. I couldn't find a photo that shows it, probably because that would be too hard to demonstrate, but I have a slide talking about that later on. So the symbolism behind it is the bell represents your urge. The dog represents you. I know you're not a dog, but the dog represents you in your current situation. And when you eat the dog food after the bell is rang, you condition yourself one step at a time. It represents you relapsing. And as I said, nobody knows the full story. He unconditioned his dogs over time just by simply ringing the bell and not giving them food. Simple. So why should I care? Well, just like Pavlov's dog, you too can uncondition yourself. It just takes a little more work. See, there's no one there to ring the bell and put the food in the shelf for you. So you have to have that discipline to hear the ring of the bell, but not eat the food. So you can feel the urge, but not do the habit. Look, try all you want, but if you don't step up in this field we call life, or you don't step up your discipline, or maybe you never even learn how to use the gun, you will never ever hit the target that you are trying to hit, and you will never ever reach your goal. So, in summary, what it really is finding a balance between your willpower and relapsing. You don't want to lean towards one side because then you absolutely shut out the urge and then you hit a burnout. Now, if you lean too much towards the other side, you relapse. So you need to find the perfect balance in between them. Now, this will vary from habit to habit. It'll vary from or how deep you are into that habit. Now, if you are in addiction level, like if you remember, we talked about addiction. If you are skipping family and skipping important events just to participate in the habit, this will definitely be way harder for you because you are much more leaning in on the giving side than you are the willpower side. But if you need more help, this podcast was specifically made for pornography, but I think it has a lot of little jewels of nuggets for other habits. You can check out Sarah Brewer. You just type her name on YouTube, or if you have Spotify, you type her name on Spotify, and it will pull up a podcast that teaches you how to break habits. Now, this video was basically condensed off the things I learned from her. So if you subscribe and like, because I literally go out and find like the latest information for you for your benefit, and I give you the tools that you need to succeed in life. So on this topic, books that might interest you. First off, Atomic Habits teaches you how to break habits. Second of all, Deep Work helps you find work that you can do and how to actually focus on it. The Art of Laziness, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but if you didn't know, just helps get rid of your laziness and turns it into motivation and discipline. Now, more books and genres mentioned in the next slide. My online community has 5 of the best books from every genre you can imagine, from human behavior, relationships, critical thinking, personal finance, and a multitude more. Now, there's other features that's written, but I'm not going to read them aloud, and it'll be the top link in the description.